A little bit more detail about behavior. Behavior is either respondent or operant. Respondent behavior is brought out by a stimulus. That's the best way I could put it right now. Think of a reflex. Blow in an air into the eye, you blink. You do a loud noise, you cover your ears. It's kind of like a stimulus response. You smell favorite food, you drool. So think reflexes. Operant behavior, on the other hand, is any behavior whose frequency is determined by its history of consequence. As a behavior analyst, I'm more focused on operant behavior. Behavior whose future likelihood is determined by what it gets or doesn't get the individual. For example, when I press the power button on something, it turns on. That's operant behavior. The future frequency of me pressing the power button is if that power button actually works. So if I had an item whose power button was malfunctioning or didn't work, I'd be less likely to press that power button on that particular object because of its history of consequences with me. If I press the power button and it doesn't work, and that happens enough times, I'll start to press that power button less because of the history of consequences. I'm not reinforced by either the object turning on or turning off. Likewise, when I'm driving, I put my key in and turn it to start the engine. This is behavior I've learned because of the consequence. I turn key, engine starts. Now I want to talk about the three-term contingency. Throughout this orientation and training, you've been learning about the ABCs, the antecedent, behavior, and consequence. This is known as the three-term contingency. It is the basic unit of analysis for looking at all operant behavior. All ABA procedures and techniques involve the manipulation of one or more components of the three-term contingency. This means that all interventions done with ABA principles, such as the one you will be doing as an RBT, is based off of this three-term contingency in some way. This is a very important thing to remember and realize, and to understand what antecedents, behaviors, and consequences are. Remember, antecedents are what is before the behavior, B is the behavior, and C are the consequences, what come after the behavior. And remember, I want to reiterate, the consequence is not a bad nor a good thing. It is just what comes after the behavior. So what is a contingency then? A contingency is when the consequence is dependent on the occurrence of the behavior. Gaining a reinforcer when asked to name the animal is contingent on whether the person actually names the animal correctly within the parameters of the rules of what the teacher is asking. So if I say touch cow or what animal goes moo, and the person says cow, and I give them a reinforcement, that's a contingency. The reinforcement was dependent on whether the person answered correctly. So I want you to think of it like a contract. If you do this, then you will get this. Here's a couple popular contingencies within ABA. They're very similar. We have the first in contingency. First you clean your room, then you can play Minecraft. This is very similar to the Premack principle. In fact, they're about the same. In the Premack principle, also known as Grandma's rule, a preferred activity can reinforce a less frequently engaged in activity. Again, a preferred activity can reinforce a less frequently engaged in activity. It's known as Grandma's rule, where it's eat your veggies, then ice cream. So we're reinforcing the person eating their vegetables with ice cream. This is known as the Premack principle.